Hello, everybody. Good evening. This is Dr. Rao coming on to you for my evening talk. Yeah, I kind of selected a interesting topic today. Uh, Maybe it's too daring, but kind of uh, I wanted to really share and share, right? So, as you panoramically look at our world and especially the cities that I lived in, like Chicago, New York, and now in Iowa, a lot of urban life, right? And also seeing the simpler rural life too. And I have been a physician, technician, corporate leader, teacher, author, speaker, so many things, right? So looking at all of that, I noticed a kind of quite desperation in many people who also accomplished a lot, right? And I was kind of taken by that. And the more I was really observing them in a non-judgmental, just a empathetic way, even the people who are really successful had a lot of things against their name. They are unhappy, right? They were anxious, a lot of suicides, a lot of worthlessness, a lot of anxiety or fidgetiness or neurotic behavior, not able to control their anger, breaking relationships all the time, and not having a quality relationship, or even if they exist in something, they don't have a quality relationship, right? Sharing and caring and loving and all that. So, what should have been a human, um, very down to earth, uh, nurturing relationships have become very toxic. And then we have a lot of technology, tremendous improvements in technology. But if you look at inside of people, they may be temporarily away from this, but then eventually they find that loneliness, emptiness, and all that. Okay, looking all that, and then looking at the ancient wisdom, which was addressing this inner core. Um, and it's not like the psychiatry or psychology that we see. It's more like a humane thing. They wanted to be empathetic, because these people are not asking anything in return when they really formulated this wisdom. This way of looking at life is a much different way. So, looking all that, it seemed I seemed to be having so much ease and bliss and no anxiety or no desperation within me, but like I'm going from new one to new one, and then my health is on the day I'm improving. So I thought I should share that kind of mentoring with some of the friends here. So I thought I will start a new series, which is really uh, makes you understand why you are here, what you are doing, and where you are going. That kind of some kind of inclination, some kind of understanding, and then that way the mind eases at the core, and you really identify beyond the mind. You are the real uh, deal, right? Once you station there, then it is kind of very easy for people to understand that. Okay, so that is what I wanted to do today, and I hope people are really able to participate and understand what I'm saying. That way, they can really get the benefit of what I'm talking about. I'm not saying all that is going to work for you, but I'm just inviting people to uh, come and explore with me as I explore these issues and explore the past plausible solutions that the ancient rishis and munis and yogis talked about. Okay, so It's something like what we can do with ourselves. Don't have to buy any gadgets, don't have to be anybody's student or anything like that, but then a kind of self exploration that we could do, which will tell us what is what, and then keep them in their places, like, suppose you are very afraid of death, and you are very much worried about a chronic disease, then you're concerned about you're concerned about your body, right? Then you're body conscious. Suppose you have a lot of fears and anxieties in your mind, then you are more like uh, afraid, and then really bonded, a prisoner of your own thought and feelings and emotions, right? So you don't have freedom there too. So how do you get out of that prison? And then suppose you don't know your energies, what do you do with that? Okay. Or if you don't know what is going on in the world around you, and how to respond to that. So all these deeper issues, they have really explored in a major way. So I thought I will engage people with that. Uh, Hi Akim, welcome. I just opened the room and I began to tell people. Maybe the recording will tell them too, but I will have to repeat that several times today. This is an introductory attempt of what I'm going to do in the next few years, right? So it's already in place with a lot of people exploring these things privately with me, and then getting the benefit of it. So I thought I will come and present to this group I'm talking every day. So this gives me uh, a structure, a meaning of trying to help and trying to really make people explore themselves, go inward, find out who you are, find out what is going on, and then look at other wisdom schools. Most of them are ancient. What did they have to say? That kind of understanding, probably it will be good for anybody, especially if you look at us, we have so technologically advanced. We can go to the moon, we can go to the Mars, we can do so many things. But if you go inward and find out a lot of this desperation, anxiety, depression, and so much violence, so much non-caring, so much division and wars, and all those things are happening, right? So most of them arise in our mind. Most of this root causes of this, all the ailments that we are having, the division, the violence, the wars, the sheer utter unhappiness and anxiety, depression, desperation, all those things, which I see all the time, because the reflection of that is so many ways people have problems, and they come into as healthcare people, we have to be exposed to that. And also, I don't just want to give them medication and go, but I want to see how they develop into this state of being like that. What is it that is making them feel like that? So even somebody like Robin Williams, he was a I loved his comedy, and I loved his humanitarianism. I loved his way of approaching everything, very frankly. But he has a very foul mouth, so I could not go to his live performance. Once we went there, but then the way he was talking, I could not take it. So we kind of walked out in the middle of it. But then he kind of committed suicide. What was behind it? So any number of these celebrities and other ordinary people are committing suicide. That's a fact. The number is going up, and the source is the depression, anxiety, and then not being satisfied with what they have achieved. One particular story that really came to me with stunning surprise about was, I think 11 or 17 of the Nobel laureates, the people who won the Nobel Prize, they committed suicide after they won the Nobel Prize. And then they went and talked to relatives of each Nobel laureate, and they found the same story. Before Nobel laureate, he has a goal. He wanted to get that Nobel laureate, and he worked very hard. He had fun with it and all. But then, soon after he got the Nobel laureate, he kind of gave up, and then he didn't have anything else to pursue. He didn't have anything that he thought that would be worth pursuing. And then, without doing all that intellectual activity or whatever activity he was doing, he kind of felt like meaningless, and that's why they ended their life. Okay, so you achieve things, you're not happy. You don't achieve things, you are not happy. And either way, the whole life is miserable and desperate and anxious, fidgety, and all that, right? So that is not all the time, maybe, but there are times when they do that. But then, if you take a teenagers, if you take young adults, if you take any of these transgenders or homosexuals or any of that, they all are going through miserable time, and mainly because it is your mind that generates all these things. To understand that, you got to go beyond the mind. That means you have to let go your cognitive hold that you think that everything is in that, right? So that is a chief thing that is staring at us from ancient way of living and our way of living, the modern way of living, because we get caught up in the thinking mode all the time. But that's only one faculty of ours, and that should be under our control. But then everything else is neglected at the cost of this cognitive mode, and that dictates to you uh, how you are, what is your life, and how you should feel about it, and all that. Okay, so understanding that there's a faculty that is a very wonderful faculty that raise up power of that thought, But then beyond beyond that thought and all that, we are the awareness that is having those thoughts. Okay, you are aware of your thoughts, right? So that is where I think modern people will have to open up and examine that, and then stay in that true self, not your put together self of egotistical or personality that we weave together. That's not the one. What you are, basically, you feel the sense of I. You feel the intuitive self, right? Like you are always there. That did not change from your childhood, right? Or at least for me, that is like that. I always have the same sense of me, myself, is as a child, as a young man, as a middle-aged man, and now as an old man. All the time, I have this sense of self that is not colored by any of these conclusions or cognitive understanding and all that. But what it is that energy, that sense of I, and the ancient described as existence, consciousness, and bliss. What they said was, well, we are, we know that energy is existing. It is here, it is there. And that itself is the consciousness. So the conscious being, consciousness, is having thoughts. Okay, that consciousness is the awareness, right? That awareness, the feeling of me and all that, that is having the thoughts. So the thoughts come and go. But then the way we train these thoughts makes us feel like the thoughts are permanent, and we don't even know who we are. So a lot of my friends replied when I put a question in this house, do you know who you are? Emphatic and answer, yes, I know, yes, I know, and all that. But when you probe into that and ask them question, and then they will say, yeah, I think my thoughts are me, but is that true? That's it's not for me to say yes or no. It is for you to find out, explore, go inward. That is so there are so many methods over the years, centuries, they have developed, the ancients, and then there's nothing harm to look at them. Most of them are found out before even the religions were found out. Later on, people adopted them and then put them into their own narrow view of one particular religion against other and all that. But if you really look at the history, when they created this, they said the entire world is in one family, not just the human beings, but also all the plants and animals. And then the way the human being is made the same wherever you go internally, right? We have the body and mind, same organs are functioning, maybe a little bit different that way and this way. But we are not only how we cry, how we laugh, how we feel, how we worry, how we get fearful. Those states are the same common. That means consciousness is common to all of us, right? And out of conscious being, you can have this power of thinking, which can have memory, which is the past, or which can have imagination, which it projects into the future. But then, if you really stop by and say, what is it happening right now? That is life. Whatever the life is happening in the presence, because we go away from the presence and we don't know how to live in the present all the time, we kind of either recall or imagine or project, right? And then we always miss the life as it is. See, that is where they made a huge, huge progress. What they did was they kind of stayed in the present and explored the present in their mind, what is happening here and now, not by told by somebody else, but by themselves, that intuitive meditative awareness has revealed to them a lot of universal truths. And then they kind of understood human life in that perspective. And then talked about emotional states, talked about energy states, talked about states of consciousness, different states of consciousness, and all that. They experienced them. It's not like they conjured up like we do with words and with books and all that, but they have actual. This is a inner sciences are always first-hand experience. So even if you tell somebody something, I tell you something about inner state of mind, that is really a word only. Actual what is your own inner state, you got to experience. You got to have first-hand knowledge of that. That is why a lot of difficulty of understanding this ancient wisdom, and then we slip into all sorts of concepts, all sorts of theories, all sorts of so-called truths from different people, right? So that's why you want to understand this in a completely different way. So once you understand that, you don't need anybody guiding you for that. The moment reveal it, the presence will reveal it, and your intuitive awareness will reveal it. Okay, I can vouch for one thing. It's a very tranquil, harmonious state, and it's like not all the thoughts are zooming around you, but it's a silent state that you can stay and really be in joy because you are in that. So again, this is not some PowerPoint to describe or someone to tell you about it. I'm just sharing it, but it is for you to take an inward journey by yourself. And that is where the inner science is. You got to have first-hand experience of these things by yourself. You may study them, you may understand them, you may say, okay, somebody told me about it, but when it comes to actual experience of that state, that is yours, right? You cannot describe it also. You have to experience it yourself. There's a uh, difference of somebody talked about what does a scientist do, what do the uh, not only scientists but also what do the technologists do, and what do the uh, yogi do. Okay, there's a difference between these three, right? One is you can take a scientist. What does he do? He has an object. He has a theory. He has an object outside. He study that, and then out of that he will do lots of experiments and compare it, and his peers also test that, right? And out of that he will formulate a theory and he will confirm it. And then what does he do after that? So he will present it for peer review, and then once that is proven somewhat safe, is other people will accept it. And what does the technologists do? There are tools out of that scientific research. They come, and then we try to use them for our own life improvement or what. But what does the yogi do? He kind of first-hand experience within himself. Unless he experiences, he won't accept it. That is the standard. I'm trying to bring it to you here. Hi, Angela. Hi, America's Supermom. Welcome to both of you. Okay. So,
good evening.
Good evening. So I just been talking for 20 minutes maybe. What I was saying is, what is that I'm trying to do here? With this rule, so being yourself, that's a major title. But then how can we modern problems be faced with some ancient wisdom, and thereby we can attend to them without really taking medications, taking external help from somebody? How can you invade or look into yourself and then have the first-hand experience of yourself? And out of that, you will understand, suppose you are having some problems with anxiety or depression or desperation. That's what I was describing to them. How do I observe these things with the patients, with the relatives, with the colleagues, with the hospital administrators, and so many people come my way, right? And I have been looking at them not through the degree or what is the things they are going to do, but as human being, who they are, what do they tell me about themselves. Are they truthful people, or are they really free people? Are they really happy people? Why don't they enjoy this joy and blissness that I feel, and then why they are upset with small things, and then why the relationships are so, so very, what do you say, like a fragile, the fragile relationship, and people are breaking up marriages or their own partnerships and all that very easily, and that so many things happen, right? So much of unhappiness. So I was looking at what happened with the old people, elderly people or ancient people. They don't have this kind of hang-ups. They don't have this kind of misery and despair. They may not have things. They may be hungry. They may be going around because they are unequal. They are not allowed to make money, or so many things are there, right? Societal problems, political problems. But if they leave you alone, you will ask them, they're kind of quite relaxed and peaceful and happy people, just with a grandchild, or just with being okay with the health and those kind of things. So that's why I brought this topic up to explore it. What do you think, America Supermom? What do you think?
Well, I think this is a great topic and conversation. I think, a couple of things. One is, I read this quote that said something like, if you're silent against something that you believe in, you cause a war with yourself.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes, people do not fully express who they are because they feel like other people will judge them. It's one thing.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, the comparison.
Yeah.
I think that really is the problem because, people show the highlights, the good things of what's going on. And so when because you think based on what you see a lot of times.
Yeah.
You don't really ask, is this true what I'm looking at? You know, you just kind of take it as it is true just because you see it, and then you create more of a story yourself without asking.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So,
I think that point is well taken. It reminds me what it is if a man knows the truth and he keeps silent and let the innocent man go and be victim, that man being silent, he did not help the cause and he kind of hurt the person too. And that's what reminds me what you said. Absolutely, because uh, I mean, a professional way, some people come my way and then they kind of want to find out. And then if I explain to them, and then because of the authenticity or genuineness I have built with them, they can really take my advice and say, Doctor wants our welfare. We know at heart he wants us to be well. That's why he's telling us. But also, I have my professional training. I have how to do it. That was okay. But then when I come on these social media rooms and all that, uh, I look at only cognitive level of relating. But really, people don't know who they are behind that, what kind of mental states or emotional states or their own relationships. They don't know anything about it because you can really feel that in social media. You can come and present your best self and then hide all the things that you are going through. So that's why it becomes really not relating truly. We are only relating very superficially with the words. But actually, as human beings, we are one, and not that we have to declare everything so that other people laugh at us. It's not that. In a friendly atmosphere, in an atmosphere that is safe, where people are not going to make fun of you, but they are going to be by your side, going through the difficulties and all that. So, for that, you got to really expose the truth carefully so that the people will not be hurt by that, but they will be able to, in a situation, they can receive that. See, now that I talk in so many rooms, when I talk to them at an individual point, they say, oh, you're very wise, Dr. Rao. And it doesn't make any difference to me because I don't look for any praise or on those. They are not my psychological needs because, as I said, once we are completely full inside, we don't need any feeding from outside. So that kind of thing. It's not pride or like uppityness or I'm so superior. It's not that. It is just that spiritual fulfillment makes you like that. So all these emotions, everything will become secondary. So that if I look at it, mental health is get worsening, and if you look at the suicide rate is going up. If you like chronic diseases, the outcomes are worsening, even though we have the very good diet, very good exercise, and all that. People are more and more divided. They can't really gather together and share things in a very easy atmosphere where people are not taking advantage of their weakness, but they're helping them. That kind of thing, that is the good society when you can roam around without a threat of violence. Anyway, physical, emotional, or mental violence is not there, but then you are really welcome to do that. This is why I was fascinated with the practice of, I always talk about satsang, where people gather together and then explore things together without establishing that one is knowing all and the other people don't know anything. It's not that. It is a question posed by everybody, and then they explore with their own intelligence or their own understanding, own way. But then physics and mathematics, English, and all of those arts that we need to know to get along in the life, that they may be expert, subject matter expert, and we need to learn. That's all fine. But when it comes to your inner realm, that is where ancient wisdom, I bring it in because they say it is a first hand experience. You got to investigate it by yourself, and then you have to have the acumen so that you don't spend all the energy. So there is a what they called um, uh, what they called this vital energy. That is lacking in modern life because the way we kind of fragile and react with everything with anxiety or depression or any of that, all that really, that's one thing I'm going to focus on. What is the vital energy, how it is depleted, and how we can march towards it. Nazli is here. Hi, Nazli. How are you?
Hello, everyone. Hello, Dr. Rao. Thank you so much. I'm great. And I had a question. Anytime that I could ask this question,
go ahead, ask us.
Okay, my question is um, when a person, when does a person get offended? Because when we are very calm, we don't get offended. When we are in love,
yeah,
when we get very happy, we don't get offended. And we see like people, some politicians never get offended, and they are always cool.
Yeah.
But in like somewhere like in Middle East, you don't say anything and you are gonna be killed. Like, this is my question. When do you think a person gets offended? Thank you.
Generally, who is it that getting offended? What is the entity that is getting affected? If we look at closely, it is the so-called ego that we formed. We have an image about ourselves, and we kind of allow it to grow thinking that is the reality, but we never go for the real reality which is behind these thoughts and emotions and all that, right? So that is where the ancient wisdom explored and then told you, you are that awareness, you are behind the thoughts and emotions which happen in awareness. But then we kind of identify with a name given to us, and the parents say you are so and so, you are son and daughter of somebody, and then we kind of identify that. So it's a series of identifications that we are given, and we accept them because we don't know anything better. And then we kind of make, oh, I'm a good person, I'm a charitable person, I'm a loving person, and all of that. You will try to build up an image about yourself that you are really romanticized about it, right? But you may be not. In some instances you may not be a loving person because you get angry, you get really nasty with people and all that because you are pushed around your all those things. Whatever it is the allowing the false image to grow. Like, this social media is creating avatar. Avatar is not you, but avatar is representing you. So people take opinion based on your avatar. So already problems are there because we identify with the false image, which is our ego, which gets hurt, which gets all of that. And then it's like a fragile, it's like a glass. If the glass thing is there, it is inherently, it can be broken at any time. Ego is like that. It's a false image of ourselves, and that has such a sway on our emotional and intellectual identification. So the moment somebody says, you get hurt, but why you don't get hurt when you are in your real being is that's where we are all one. We all have that living being that gives us life, that gives us all this reflection of mind and emotions and all that. So we forgot about that. And yesterday we were talking about heart and the mind, right? The way it was described was we are born with the spiritual heart. And from that spiritual heart, when you look at the infant who is 1 year old, in their eyes, they don't have any identification. They just look at through you. And then you can identify that inner being right there. But then we teach the kid about your name is this, you're so and so, and all those identifications for practical purposes. But we usually make the mistake thinking that is the reality, but we forgot about our spiritual heart. That's why the mind that grows out of the spiritual heart forms this ego and personality to guide us through the life of the body and the mind. But then that being an instrument, we leave it as the instrument, we don't leave it. We kind of identify that. And then getting back into the spiritual heart and establishing the so-called mind is our spiritual path, right? So a lot of people who are spiritually elevated or really had this fulfillment, they do not react to no matter what you say, because there is no reacting entity. That reacting entity is our ego. They have submerged that, they have transcended that ego, and they establish themselves in that enlightened state or awakened state where they are completely spiritually fulfilled. So they don't have to, like, for example, a kid can get hurt very badly because if you take away his toy, because he identified with the toy. But an adult will consider what is a silly thing to get hurt because somebody is taking a toy. But as adults, we have these toys: name, fame, my pride, my all those things, right? So look at them with your own intelligence, understand them, and then you see what is it that is getting hurt. That's the question you want to explore. It may not be the answer I am giving it to you. You may find that yourself. But the invitation is turn inward and find out who are having all these thoughts. Who is that? Is that your real self, or your cultivated thoughts and emotions? Make sense, Leslie?
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, that's good. Nazli has good questions all the time. That's wonderful. So Gemma is here. I will invite her. She's also a lot of good questions and good backing too. So, when I start early, this is what is happening. I have to repeat that again and again. We'll see. So any questions, Angela or Supermom? Any questions? Or come and explore with me.
Well, I like the idea of self-mentoring.
Yeah.
So I would say, that was a good question about being offended. But what do we practice?
Yeah.
Asking ourselves.
Yeah.
For self-mentoring. What would be a good question too?
What it is
our default question that kind of transition us out of our head.
Yeah.
Of some of the things. Yeah.
Just exactly what I said about what is false and what is real. The ego is false. It has risen in our life and it is there to serve a purpose. But then we identify it as the reality and look at the world, everything through a false image. But you see the self in operation during the daily life. And then you will see, you try to defend it, you try to assert it, you try to exert it on other people and all that. So it's like a mirror, the relationship you have with the world, with the people, with your thoughts, your assertion, the knowledge and everything. In that mirror, you're supposed to look at how you are. And then transformation happens of seeing what is real, what is not, what is transient, what is permanent, what is really worth holding and what is not. You see, in ancient wisdom, they call this nitya anitya. What I'm talking about is be yourself. That self, if you really identify in that as the conscious being, that is going to go away when the body's time is over, when the body has degenerated and evolved and all that. It falls off, and that the mind also falls off. But the spark of life, that is a conscious being we're talking about, that's a permanent thing, will go to some other body or something we don't know, but that's what they kind of talked about. So that is permanent. But one thing is, even if you don't understand that, one thing we see is there is a birth and there is death, and then there is birth again. So some of the births in the hospital, we see that regularly. So many babies are born, so many old people die, right? So old people dying is like a transition, we say. It's like a passage from the time, and then they go and take another birth. So that energy, that thing that goes out of the body, finds another body or another construction and all that. So that's a thing. So what is real? Is it you want to cultivate your ego, or you want to identify yourself and stay in that?
Yeah, so I have a question. This kind of just came up.
Sure.
When I was reading this book about tiny habits,
Mm.
and it was saying that 45% of our day is a routine.
Yeah.
So it's like on autopilot, a
Yeah.
lot of the things that we do. So we're really like in the subconscious mind with that.
Yeah.
So
Exactly right. What I said
do we want, is the goal to make that less, or is it to align
actually
some of the things that we want in that routine that we don't have right now?
Yeah. See, you remember we were talking about conscious thinking, conscious present oriented thinking. Then you don't have a chance to let the subconscious wait there and absorb that. You are thinking and you are leaving it, right? You don't allow it to stay in your mind again to go back and then land up. That is the problem a lot of we have is we kind of unconsciously think on so many things, even the habits, okay? Habits. But then you can make a good habit of conscious thinking, and that is you think through the whatever it is needed, and then you kind of drop it. Otherwise, suppose you're taking anything that you really don't want to hang on, but then you are not paying complete attention to it, but then some other thing you are doing, then this is given the chance to bury in the subconscious. This is neuroplasticity based on. So what we use it effectively is if you can cultivate the good habit again and again and again. Like for example, my cousin got paralyzed, right? Like last week, last month, I think. So I was telling them, repeat the passive range of motions continuously. And then when he has got some volition, some kind of movement on his own, let him do it continuously. Okay? That's a consciously you are making a good habit. Then that habit you want to keep it. But so you can create your own brain that brain is going to work for you because it is a good thing that you want to make it a habit. But on the other hand, if you are unconsciously thinking anything, and it will be a jumble. So you're intentional, you're conscious, you are thinking on the thing. That means your complete attention in what you're doing or what you are thinking. And after that is done, you go to the next thing, then again the same thing. That means you left the previous one. You don't want to linger on. So practice conscious thinking.
I love that. So, so what I'm hearing is, again, we're talking about being present.
Yes. That's it. That's it.
Being in that moment, because that's the time that you can consciously choose an outcome.
The question is this. The question is this. Are you live or are you not live? If you are not in the present, you are not live.
Okay.
It's as simple as that. Means, are you in life or not?
Yeah.
If you are in the present, you are in the life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I do. I live. I want to be living this moment. Like I have my friends here. I don't worry about who did not come here. It doesn't matter to me because I'm attending to these people and I'm having a dialogue. I'm happy with that. Even one person.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I feel that same way. I'm the same way. So I think when you're dealing with other people that might be challenged with that, a question to tell them is like, is it like, let's just say that because some people are so focused on things outside of them that it's hard for them. I can only think back to how I was struggling with depression.
Yeah.
I didn't even look at myself or think about anything I did. I was always serving other people.
Yeah.
So when you think about a question they probably should ask the same is, is this real or is this false?
Yes.
Even right then and there, because I think sometimes, like I said, we make up stories.
Yeah.
Oh, if I don't help them, they're not going to get help, and I got to be the savior. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the stuff you're creating on your own.
Yeah, that's the ego that is talking. So, but if you are really in the self, then you realize the other person is also a self, having a personality and ego. So you want to look at the being, not the so-called put together thing. This is why social media is such a destructive thing for a lot of people, because they want to spend time on who is liking me, who is making comments, who is doing all that. Absolute waste of time, as far as I'm concerned. Focus on what is important for you, what is happening around you. Be aware, and then you'll be much more helpful to a lot of people. Well, anyway, your psyche is so weak that you have to depend on somebody else's praise. Examine that. Get out of that. There's a present you're making. So live present, here and now. Attention completely to what is happening. So that's why somebody said, I think Krishnamurti, he said, what is sacred. What is sacred. Right now, this dialogue happening between us, we are relating as human beings, and we are relating more like two real inner beings. Then that itself is enough. Highest, it's not like asking for something for this or expecting something. Then you are not there real. See, Nazli has a question, and then the question answer comes expecting anything. Just sharing it, and what's the big deal? We share, and then we kind of understand. Suppose I understood something before you, I tell you. That's all. But why do you have to put me on a pedestal, or why do I have to put her down? None of it. Two human beings relating with a question, and then we're sharing, and that itself is the present moment thing. So be moment to moment aware in the present. That is life. If you deviate, if you deviate from that in the thought and in your mind, oh, this is conceptually, oh, that other mentioned those things and all that, then you are lost from the present to your mind. So you are living in the mind, in the sense you are really not living, you are dead to the present. That's why there is a point when they say, don't read many books that will drop your natural intelligence, because other people's opinion, other people's conclusions, they kind of land in there and they stay there, and they are directing us to really think certain way. But if it is not there, you think for yourself. That is the conscious thinking.
I'm sorry, I say that all the time, Dr. O.
Yeah.
That's why I said, or even if you write in your own book of the story,
yeah,
it'll be best to focus just on you and not add someone else in. I'm listening to you, but I'm cleaning too, and I don't want to stop and sit by the phone.
That's fine, Angela. That's fine. We are having a nice interaction with America's Supermom and Nicely. So that has allowed us to, explore these things easier, and everybody else can listen to it and don't accept just because we said so. Go and investigate by yourself. That is the mentoring I'm talking about. Not that I'm going to sit here, mentor, and then people don't know. Not that. Inviting them on the journey of self-exploration. Make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And, it also, it's an evolution too for people.
Yeah.
So definitely. What you say today might not be important.
Yes.
But it might be important next week.
Exactly.
And it could be what they remember. But
that is so true.
You said earlier about if we're all one and we are able to be present with that,
yes,
then this is how we're able to navigate when we notice that someone is not in the right space.
They may not have seen what I have seen, but they will see it later. One of the things happened to me was there were huge talks between J. Krishnamurti and Alan Anderson, right? 18 hours of overweight, And then I watched them over the years. And then what happened was, it was really, every time I went to a few years later, I discovered something true, something new. What is it? It is, did they say something new? No, it's a recorded thing, right? I own the recordings. And what is it is, I am not enough to get all that when I listen first time. And now I can listen to it because of my kind of evolution you're talking about was there. I was able to understand them better. This is what happened actually. So now I can see that. So that's why you don't want to pester people. You want to say that you don't understand what you're saying. None of it, because everybody can bear from their level. They can come whatever level it is. Could be greater than us or lesser than us, whatever. But those are all external factors. At the core of being, you and me are the same. We are actually not only the same, we are only in oneness. See how everything transforms when you have that.
Well, and you know what? To me, that is how you're able to create, because you can't create something. I mean, it's like I'm getting kind of deep here, but it's something like time dimension. Okay, so for example, if I'm in the present and somebody else is in the future or the past, we can't connect, even though we're right in front of each other.
Exactly. That's very true, because they are in their mind, but you are out of the mind. That's why two different dimensions. Although the creation part of it, what you said about, see, when you repeat something that happened in the past, which is what most of the minds do, or you want to project something because you wish or you think about it and all that, that's not really creative, because you are rehashing what was already said or what is being projected. But the scientists, at the time of the creation, something completely new comes out of him. And that is real creation. Otherwise, it becomes journalism. So you're just reporting it. So this is why this inner exploration is first-hand experiment. Inner experience is always like that. You cannot do that if you are mired in all the past knowledge of somebody else. That's why the invitation here is, come explore with me, not learn from me, not get the teaching from me. That's not it. Exploration into your inner dimension.
That was good.
Yeah. Hi, Sanya. How are you?
Wait, Doctor.
Good. Janma, I called her, but she's having dinner. I think she left me a message. So she'll come up. She'll come up later, probably, when she's. Yeah. I'll invite her again. If she can come, she can come. So.
Yeah, no problem.
So that is the thing I want to do with these rooms. They're going to be series of rooms where, like Nazli brought in something like somebody says hurt. That's a way we want to explore. We want to explore with her, make her think about what is it that is getting hurt. Go and find out, and then you will see your own image, your own thing. See, one of the things people can do is when you go to bed at night time, review your associations you built up for yourself. Like for example, somebody their profession, they think, they say, oh, I'm a doctor and all that, or something else, right? Or a relationship that they have in the family, like a husband, father, or grandfather, all these associations, at least for the night, put it on the table. And then go to sleep, and then pick them up in the morning and see what transformation happens. Because what it is in yoga science, there is what's called chitta, that is the universal intelligence. You are a conduit to that. Once you connect with that, things come out of you that are very wise. It's not normal intelligence, but the other intelligence will be able to see that how superior that advice or wisdom is. This is what happened with a lot of ancient rishis. They were always chitta. They said chitta suddhi, chitta mala, and all that, right? So unselfish activity cleans that chitta, okay? And focused activity kind of makes it much more potent. And we talked about the presence. The past is completely wiped off to the extent they don't even remember their name, you know. And then, so they're so devoid of all these attachments, whereas we constantly pick them up thinking they are the ones who are going to make us happy, maybe transiently, but you don't have to love your son stating, I'm your father. You can love as a human being, right? So people don't come to that level. They have this emotional bondage, emotional blackmail. I have done this for you. You have to do this, and all those rigmarole goes on, right? But if you have the loving being in there, you have the love for everybody, irrespective of the relationship, then you are liberated. Your heart is full with the love, and it will come through. So do that practical thing if you would, and tell me how you feel later. If you leave all association just for the night, even if you want to write it down, that's fine, and then leave them. That means you should be able to try to be free of those associations for the night and sleep and get up in the morning and see how you feel. But most of the time, they can't even clean their mind. They can't even slow the mind. They can't even understand what is this. Oh, what is this nonsense? They would say. But if you try and do it, then you will find it. So all these things are like that. First-hand experience. They are not given as a prescription, but suggested ways of experimenting with yourself. Make sense, Anya?
Yes, Dr. Ra.
Yeah. Do it and then let me know. Because she is somebody who comes most often. I
in your head.
Okay, okay. Yeah. But understanding.
That was in cooking school. You did that? No, I said at the coaching school. Coaching. I thought you said. I was like, okay. No, in cooking school, a lot of times you wouldn't even be talking half of the time if you was doing your projects, because if you're dealing with a knife, we couldn't talk to each other because I might cut you or cut myself. So it's like doing art and meditating. When you're really in cooking school and you're cooking, it's like science. Well, it is science. But yeah, we used to get points off. So if maybe it was like talking in the class while we are doing some of the projects, we get points off our grade.
Yeah, I think the internet has come back, but then people are, I don't know where they are. Okay. I think we are there. This is disaster, right? But that's okay.
No, she came back. You can't see the stage?
Yeah, I can see that.
We're all here.
Yeah. I have my Wi-Fi come back, so I should be okay.
So Dr. Rao, right. Sorry, I can't say your name very well. I was interested in what you said there about putting the names down, the labels that we give ourselves and whatnot. And I think one of the struggles I have is the other from me is that I identify as pain. So living with pain, living with chronic pain.
Yeah.
And I like what you said there, if you could just put it down before you go to sleep and try to just let it go, so that when you wake up in the morning, you have to deal with it then deal with it then, but don't bring it into your sleep time.
Yeah.
It's not always that easy, but I think that's, very profound in what you say there, that I have to look at it as not just like other human being or other label that I give myself, but pain is also one of those labels.
Oh, yeah, because there was a pain specialist at one of the conferences that we were doctors attend, I was always interested in the pain control and the abuse of pain medications around the world, and then in this country too. So what happened was he was saying 65% of the pain is really patients imagining or worrying about when it is going to come on, because they've experienced it one time and they have some relief and all that. And later on, they spend most of them thinking about it, worrying about it, and then increasing that pain. That means pain threshold is kind of lowered. But if you experience pain and then you have pain threshold increase, you can take a lot of pain. The more pain you take, the more pain threshold. Doesn't mean that you have to suffer with the pain. What means is pain is always inevitable. It will be there, but the suffering is optional. Does that make sense, Janma?
I love that. Yeah. I think I'm just going back to when I had my first child.
Yeah.
I took Lamaze classes. And the fact that I remembered, or I don't know, it's just the knowledge of knowing what my body was doing.
Yeah.
That I was able to have my kids natural. So I had 11 of them until I was high risk.
Yeah.
My last two. But, I think just that whole knowledge of understanding what to expect.
Yeah.
And it made a difference.
Yeah, it does. I think those people who joined back on my wisdom, I had a electric failure or whatever it is. The storm is going on outside, and that's why internet went and came back. So just find the recording. If it is recorded, then you can see, or ask me any questions if you missed. They don't come up anyway. Most of the wisdomers, they want to listen. I don't know what it is, but I'll be available if they have any questions about that. So that is there. See, I want to tell you something about this pain thing. And now with the fentanyl, so many deaths are happening. And then also, why the addiction grows so much in these cultures was because when you don't have this blissfulness or this happiness within, you always go out for pleasures with this narcotics or liquor. No, the same thing, same mechanism happens. So, uh, what this self I'm talking about, the inner self, is having the tools of mind and body. Both are tools. But if you are other way, then you identify body as yourself and the mind and thoughts are as yourself. That's where the identity is misplaced. So, but if you are really stabilized in your real identity, then you can look at the suffering of anything going on in the body as body's problem, mind's problem. I mean, that's like a really stretching a lot, but that is there. That's what I'm saying. So people who were in this self-realized state, they were able to really dissociate their body and the mind completely and then operate on them as though they are things. They're outside of them. Okay. There is a, I think I'm going to open up the Zoom also so that you can see some of my illustrations and all that. So that some of the very complicated things can be easily seen on the figures and everything. I will give so many talks on these things, so I have those Zoom slides and everything, you know. So I'm going to do that. So then you can, I will give you the Zoom link here so that you can come back and join me on Zoom link also if you want to. So, or at least see the figures there. You know, there is the self, and around the self, there are 5 layers according to yoga physiology. The most external layer is the what called annamaya kosha, that is made of food, the body, body bones and all the flesh and organs. The actual normally the body is inert, but then because of this consciousness coming in giving life, all these organs are functioning and all that. But still they are inert by themselves. The hand is not going to say something to me because it is alive. No, it can move only when I want to move and all that, right? So that is the first layer. The physical body is called annamaya kosha. And then there is energy circulating in the body that is called pranamaya kosha. All the life energy going through that. That is a layer of our body, right? And then you have these thoughts and emotions and all the moods and everything. That is manomaya kosha. Mano means like a mind. Okay, mind kosha. There's a subtle layer within you. And then you have this cognition, understanding, intellect, discriminative understanding of the concepts and all that. That understanding, not just having thoughts and all that, but that understanding, insights and everything. That is called Vijnanamaya kosha. Okay, once you have that, then there is this seed body where the genetics and the root things that are coming to your body, that is called Anandamaya kosha. So it's not like these are exactly opposite, but then description tells you all those layers are there. And then what are they surrounding this? What is the central thing? That is the being. That is the consciousness. That is the awareness. Various names you can give. But without that, all these things don't have any life. But with this, so modern approach of body mind separate, so I don't have to do anything with psychiatry. I have to do only with my physical. That's all nonsense. So for me, luxury is because I was able to understand the human system through both modern and the ancient. Modern has so many valuable things like a cellular metabolism, like enzymatic reactions. All those things you can go deeper and deeper and all that. You can understand all of that. But then it is not separate from our psyche, our mind, our inner core. That you have to understand. That's why a human being is not just the body. He doesn't come with a liver. I would say my liver is wrong. He comes with his experience of that pain. He comes with his psychological fears about that pain. He comes with so many misbehaves beliefs that he has in his life. So you got to look at the human being as a whole organism having this problem. Then you can help the human being completely by attending to the cause, by attending to the effects of the cause, and by attending to all the biochemical reactions and all that. So this understanding is not there. That's why modern medicine is reductionist, mechanical. And that's why most other patients don't like the physicians, because they don't show any out of empathy, right? They show the authority, they show the impatience and all of that, but they don't have, and also they don't have the health on their own. So there's so much there with ancient healing systems that's not like just like, oh, you take this leaf and you'll get better. No, they have so much more knowledge. Even the beeches area, they call it seed. They compared with the seed giving a huge tree, giving thousands of fruits. Where did it come from? So there was this famous Upanishadic story when they say uh, the kid comes out and then he looks at the tree, and he also looks at the seed that fell on the floor, right? Then his father comes and says, this tree came from this seed, but what is it in the seed that gives it? Then he said, we open it. He opens it, he opens one layer after one layer and all that. Finally, he finds only emptiness. There's nothing there. But that emptiness is our being, not seen, not felt, but it is that behind our life. Is it too much, or is it something sensible?
That's profound. That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
So that's what,
Sensible.
yeah, that's what we want to go and stay, not with our image about us, not the thought, not this, mind losing it. Because earlier, Supermom was having a good dialogue with me when we talked about what is that is life when you live in the present. I think most people should go back and listen to that, and then you'll understand why I talk about be in the present all the time. And it's not like a habit, but it's like a really being in the life. That means just don't go and live in the mind. Don't go live in the past memories. Remember them, learn from them, but don't go in the past and live there. In the present, conscious thought, awareness, attention, you be here, then you are really living. So I said, what is sacred. So once you understand that, you won't get into all these discussions. Everybody has to talk, everybody has to say. All that is mental noise to me. Nothing much. What is happening here? What's the part you are talking about? What is that we can look into it? That kind of thing, if you pay attention, I think most of our conversations, everything will be very fruitful if you can be in the present with the subject. Somebody came this morning, I opened a room in my old room just to see whether it is operating or not. Then he comes and the topic was about stalling the thought, why it is needed. Okay, this is what it is. Because the thought that going on about the past things, or is there trauma, something they said. The trauma, they want to reinforce that, or they want to proceed to the what may